I'm gonna let you start us, Joe.
Sure. What's going on, guys? Thanks for coming back to another episode of Beards on Film. And I am joined tonight by my amazing brothers on somebody else's channel. Joe, what's going on, brother? How's life been?
Life has been good, man. Life has been very good.
Good, man. Eric, how are you tonight, sir?
Fired up, man. I'm excited for this.
Life has been good, man. Life has been very good. Oh,
You look-
got feedback.
Yeah, well, I can hear Joe.
I'm excited for
I think I'm muted.
Oh, it's me.
Yeah, okay.
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure I'm muted too. Look at the professionalism we show up here, guys. That's So tonight, guys, we are back and we are doing our top most overrated films. I don't know. We all kind of went a different direction here. We got top threes, top twos. Everybody's got their own. But we have our most overrated films. Now, I don't know the exact direction everybody went here because you can take overrated in the sense that critics loved it, but you thought it was trash. Or you can take it overrated as it was blown up and made to be the next most amazing thing to ever hit a movie screen. And it was the worst thing you ever saw. So I'm curious to see how my brothers went about this whole process and what they chose. So I don't know. How do you guys want to kick this off? You want to go?
Well, you go first because you've got the 3 to R2, and then you can throw it to me or Eric whenever you're done.
All right. So then I'll go first. My first choice was one that comes from a guy that I honestly, I can't stomach most of the things he creates. It is the 2002 movie Signs by M. Night Shyamalan. And me and M. Night have a very love-hate relationship. All right. I loved Unbreakable. I loved Split, things like that. But Signs and The Village and The Happening might be the worst movies I've ever had the unfortune of watching. So if you're unfamiliar with Signs, it starred Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix. And Joe, here's a little bit of trivia for you or fun facts. I know you like stuff like this, and I found it very interesting. Mark Ruffalo was actually up originally to play the role that Joaquin Phoenix did, and he had to bow out because he had a brain tumor that he had to have taken care of. Luckily, they found out it was benign. He was able to be taken care of, but he was supposed to originally be the co-star along Mel Gibson. In fact, M. Night saw it as a Mark Ruffalo character. That's why he wanted him.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was a very interesting little piece of information that I honestly didn't know until I was doing some research for this real quick. So again, you got Mel Gibson, Joaquin Phoenix, and it is about a family who lives on a farm. Their father is a former priest who left the priesthood after his wife was killed in a car accident. And yeah, weird things start happening, right? So essentially they start having weird occurrences on the farm. There's weird things going on, and it all gets traced back to aliens. And while this all might sound like, hey man, aliens, a former priest, Mel Gibson, Joaquin Phoenix, this should be amazing. That's what I thought. That's what I thought leading into this, okay? All right. But then they gave me a movie where these aliens have mastered space travel, okay? But they can't open a friggin' door.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
They had mastered space travel, but he couldn't get himself out of a damn door. Okay? He couldn't get himself out of a door. Now, obviously the movie was a success, right? So check this out. $72 million budget, and it grossed $404 million worldwide. So the movie was a huge success, and it gave M. Night a lot of recognition. People talked about it. Mel Gibson usually performs pretty well in these circumstances. I'm a hit or miss with Mel Gibson. I do like quite a few films he's done, but there have been others where I felt like he actually dragged the film down just by being in it.
Yeah.
So for me, it depends a lot on the role that he's in at the time. The other thing that really, hold on, there we go. Get that away from me. All right. The other thing that really threw me off was the way that these aliens lost, basically. And I know spoilers, but we told you guys there would be spoilers on here. Sorry. Water was their weakness. That was their weakness. The earth is like complete. If they were weak against water, why would they ever come here?
Right.
Why would they ever show their faces on Earth? This is the last planet they should have come to.
Yeah, 2/3 of it's covered in water.
I mean, there was just so many things about this. And then even M. Night Shyamalan throwing himself in the film in the role of the guy who actually hit Mel Gibson's wife, and he should never act again if he can help himself. Like, there were just so many things about this film that didn't make sense to me. You know, there was just too many inconsistencies. And for me, it was, again, this year when this film came out in 2002, this might have been one of the biggest releases of the year. It was one of the most talked about. It had a lot of hype around it. And I was excited to go see it. I went to the movies to go see this. And I walked out. My brother convinced me to go see this one. And I said, "You're never picking a film again, sir. That was your last one. Next time you pick a film, I'm not going." And that's that. I'm curious, though. What did you two? I'm just curious. What did you guys think of Signs? Am I wrong here? Am I wrong?
I have only watched the first 3 or 4 Shyamalan movies, plus the devil one set in the elevator. And I heard enough about Signs ahead of time that I was of a mind not to see it, and I still haven't.
You're a smart man. You're a smart man. Well done.
Well, for me, I started off on kind of a bad road with M. Night Shyamalan because my family, we were going to wait till Thanksgiving to go see I See Dead People. What's that called?
Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense, yeah. And so I'm watching the Craig Kilborn show a couple days before that, you know, and I've heard great things, but nobody's given anything away. And Craig Kilborn's like, "All right, we're going to start a new segment on tonight's show. It's called Craig Ruins Another Movie." And Sixth Sense, he's dead the whole time.
What a dick.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I go into it and I know the twist, and M.
Yeah.
Night supposedly, you know, that got him known for his twist. And I don't know if what the twist of Signs was supposed to be. That they're
the water.
Yeah.
The water was the twist. That was the twist. I'll tell you the twist. It was supposed to be a good movie, but it wasn't. That was the twist. There was the twist.
The first one of his I liked was Unbreakable. And I thought he did a decent job with Last Airbender, and I loved that cartoon.
Yeah, again, this is one of the many, my 3 most hated films by him. I could have made a list just off him, honestly.
Yeah.
Because this, The Village, and The Happening are the worst films I've ever had to sit through. So that's just my opinion. That's all I got, though, for this one. I got a few more to go still. So are we going to go? Which way are we going to go?
You tell us, Joe.
All right, so we'll go over to Barbado Joe. We'll let Joe have the floor.
Okay. Eric and I only have 2. I'm going to start with mine by doing a visual aid because it's oh so helpful for my problem with this film. And it'll allow me to just kind of move right through it nice and streamlined like. There we go. All right. So my overrated film, where did it go? There it is. You guys see it?
Yeah, we can see it.
Now, when I do this, there we go. Okay. My overrated film is Jackie Brown, which is very difficult for me being a Tarantino fan. But when I look at this cast of characters and just breaking the film down based on this cast of characters, first thing is he's coming off of Pulp Fiction. And really, he's coming off of Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs. And if you want to talk his scripts, he's also coming off of True Romance. And I love all of those movies. And then I get this thing. And this was an adaptation of an Elmore Leonard novel called Rum Punch, or short story. I can't remember if it was a novel or short story. So let's start over here with Bridget Fonda. Cute. I like me a good ginger, you know, so she points for that. Not the greatest actress I've ever seen in my lifetime, and she was kind of like very much a flavor of the moment during this time in the mid-90s, and she added nothing to the film. Absolutely added nothing to the film. Her character was vapid, and I had no interest in her. Bob De Niro, hello, one of the greatest actors ever. Tarantino uses him, has him grow his hair long, and then he walks around like a mute or half-intelligent ape for the little bits of screen time he has. All right? So how Now, maybe this was De Niro just wanting to be in a Tarantino film, or I don't know how it all went down. But if you're going to give him such a shit role, why don't you invite him back to another movie so he can really show his chops? All right. Pam Grier, the eponymous Jackie Brown herself, I don't have a problem with her performance. And this is where we get into what was a plotting script to me. This script just took forever and forever. And even when we were transitioning and moving, I'm on True Romance, Reservoir Dogs, and Pulp Fiction, and then this drops into my lap. And it disappointed me very much. I think Pam Grier in the 70s, when she was doing the blaxploitation films, was one of the most attractive women on the planet. She still cuts a mean figure as an older lady, but I wasn't really into her. And I wasn't really buying her as a badass. What Tarantino, who will tell you he's just a very much a genre hack. I mean, he loves certain genres, and he loved Pam Grier, and he wanted her in his film, but it just didn't work. The script and the direction and her acting, for me, none of it worked. Then move to, of course, my favorite ensemble player that Tarantino has, Sam Jackson. This might be the worst film, period. Not the worst Tarantino film, but the worst film I've ever seen Sam Jackson in. And I haven't seen Snakes on a Plane, but I was say Snakes on a Plane against Jackie Brown. This is just garbage Sam Jackson. I don't like his look. He's always looks a little bit different. He always has his hair done a little bit differently. And he just seemed like he was starting to fall into a stereotype or a pigeonhole of a character. I thought he was very similar, although a little bit, I think, what was his character's name in Pulp Fiction?
Oh,
Jules.
Jules, yes, thank you.
Was a little more enlightened, but still they're just street hustler thugs. But Jules' enlightenment and his humor made him more entertaining. This character, whose name I don't even remember, that's how unimportant I found him. This character didn't even have any of that. So I hated Sam Jackson in the film. Michael Keaton, one of the best roles in the film. I'm a Michael Keaton fan. Again, another quick cameo, but it was nice. It was a very interesting kind of character for the little amount of time it had. And then Robert Forster, who was nominated for Academy Award for his performance, very understated. He was the shining light of the film for me, was Forster in his performance. Even though it wasn't over the top, I really dug him. And when he showed up in a couple of cameos of Breaking Bad and then in the movie El Camino, I really was like, oh, because I love him from Jackie Brown. So you have some real heavyweights that don't do well because they either didn't have the time or the script was garbage. You have a guy I had never heard of at that time who was, kind of a bit actor. He was a career resurrection, one of the many that Tarantino has had, who was the most identifiable for me, but it's not like he stole the show because his performance is so understated. It's just very good understated. And you have what, outside of Death Proof, and I even give Death Proof an excuse because it's supposed to be a grindhouse kind of film. So it gets a pass for me. If I've got to choose all Tarantino films, I'm going to put it at the bottom, but I give it a pass because of what he was trying to do. Jackie Brown, an enormous disappointment and way overrated in my book.
It's amazing that, how different people can see a film, right? Because this is one of those instances. Joe is talking about a film here that's got approval ratings through the roof. If you look on every review site under the sun, right? Everybody loves Jackie Brown. Either that or people are just afraid to give Quentin Tarantino a bad score, honestly, at this point. I don't know which one it is. But this is actually my least favorite of the Tarantino films. It's one that didn't click for me either. And I have the same complaint as you, honestly, Joe. If you're going to bring Robert De Niro in, and you're right, I don't know how this worked out. I don't know if he just wanted to be on the Tarantino film or if this was a favor he owed Tarantino or what it might be here. But if you're going to put him on a film where you basically don't use his acting skills to your advantage, then why not bring him back down the road for a film and let him show what he can do in one of your better scripts? But
look,
I got to agree with you.
That De Niro role, Joe, any of the three of us could have done De Niro's role.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any of us.
Absolutely. I gotta agree. Anybody who was in the movie could have done De Niro's role. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a very challenging role for him. It was just not one that I would have given to a guy with his acting skill at all. So I don't know if you want to chalk this up to Tarantino still young in his career at this point or whatever it is, but this one just wasn't a big hit for me at all.
I think to me, it was the adaptation factor. It wasn't an original screenplay of his. He adapted a novel and tried to turn it into something. And we haven't seen him do that, but maybe one other time. And I think he learned, or maybe he didn't, because you're right. The critics are gaga over Jackie Brown. To me, that's what stuck out, that he didn't adapt it well for his style that he'd already set up.
Right.
Well, for me, Jackie Brown, it's the only Tarantino movie that I've watched once.
Yeah.
And one you forgot, one you left out, a script is Natural Born Killers.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember come out before that. Yeah.
But Stone so changed it. He divorced himself from wanting even connection to it. But yeah, he wrote The Treatment.
He walked off set. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you look at that lineup of actors and you look at what he's done with it just didn't have that Tarantino back and forth between the characters verbally,
Yeah.
Those discussions / arguments that he puts in his movies that are just so awesome.
Yeah.
It didn't have any of that. And,
real quick, even a cameo. This is when Chris Tucker was on fire.
Yeah.
He had found religion and decided he wasn't going to do any more Fridays. And I think he was doing an homage to Reservoir Dogs by throwing his ass in the trunk, do something with that. But he was there for, you've got this hot young actor. You're using him for like 5 minutes. What are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I get cameos, but that dude was red hot. All right.
At that time, he was on fire.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was also during Tarantino's big days,
Yeah. Right.
Who hasn't been there?
All right, Eric, it's all you. What's your first one going to be?
All right. This, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, worst, biggest disappointment ever. Let me pull out my stat sheet. Little hint. Episode 1, Phantom Menace. My brother and I waited in line for over an hour and a half to see Star Wars in 1977. Then we went and saw Return of the Jedi and then Empire Strikes Back. And, so Empire Strikes Back came out in, let me see, where's my stats? Came out in 1980. So we waited almost 20 years. 20 years.
Right.
And just, a little comparison to show you how they did. Star Wars, episode 4, 11 million to make, grossed $775.8 million. And that's in $1977.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, May 19, 1999, episode 1 comes out, $115 million budget. And just on the name alone, it brought in 1.027 billion. And, you got, this is all about episodes 1, 2, and 3 are all about, Darth Vader, Anakin. And they got this kid, Jake Lloyd, that had been in one decent role before that. And that was playing the little son of Arnold Schwarzenegger in Jingle All the Way.
Okay, right.
And he was such an amazing actor. No sarcasm whatsoever. He was in one movie after that. And I mean, you had the potential. You had Liam Neeson, who's, gone into being a bigger star now. You had Natalie Portman, who Beautiful Girls, the film Nikita, you know, great actress, easy on the eyes. Ewan McGregor, my second or third favorite role of his that he's done, in my opinion, because he was good. You know, the kid couldn't act his way out of a paper bag, but you know, so you got the whole premise is based around this kid, and they couldn't find another Macaulay Culkin that could actually carry a movie, you know, and the thing that, you know, I don't even want to mention Jar Jar, so that's it. But the whole premise of the Force, you know, and what do? They ruin the canon of the Force by explaining it because it's midichlorians that are in your blood. Dude, you know, so much potential. And, you know, episode 1 was bad. Episode 2, another kid that couldn't play Anakin that can't act his way out of a paper bag. You know, it's like the role of Anakin was just cursed. But, you know, like I say, biggest disappointment to me and many other fans out there. To me, ever since Empire, the only one that's been good, in my opinion, was Rogue One. That's all I got.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say yeah. That's all. I went to see every Star Wars film that has ever been made in theater at some point or another, because they released most of the originals back in theaters again. And when this one came out, though, my father-in-law at the time, well, I don't know if he was my father-in-law at the time, but I knew him already, so was a huge Star Wars fan, and made me go stand online with him to wait to see this film. And we sat there and we waited, and I was excited, man. My uncles were huge Star Wars fans growing up, so I'd seen them all. I was excited. And we walked out after the movie, and I went, that was so bad. That might have actually ruined the original 3, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They just did not do a good job on that second run through with these movies. You're right. The role of Anakin may seriously have been cursed because nobody could act to save their lives that played this guy. And it was just not a good look for Star Wars, in my opinion. But I know some people who really love those second sets. They just did not work for me at all. At all.
I'm, of course, old enough to have seen the original Star Wars in the theater. I was a 10-year-old comic geek kid. I don't know why I went, because, of course, there was no hype. It was just any old movie. And I really enjoyed it. And then I went and saw Empire, and I really enjoyed Empire. And then if I wanted to watch it again, Revenge might have been a disappointment for me too, because of those fucking Ewoks, man. And I think that's what kept me away from going back. The Ewoks really stunted my growth on being a huge Star Wars fan. And when it came back, I had no interest whatsoever. Plus, I work with a couple Star Wars geeks, so they were going to tell me. And the universe had just exploded in those 2 decades, right? You know, you got fan fiction, you got shows and cartoons and you know, so there was all this alternative plot stuff going on that I didn't feel like, you know, going in and finding out about it. But from everything I've heard, Eric, I'm glad I didn't invest and get all excited for 20 years for this thing to come back. And also the herky-jerky numbering system really threw me. It took number 1 to be like being hyped before I realized, wait a second, I didn't watch the first movie. I never realized at the time that I was watching 4, 5, 6, not 1, 2, 3. So that just kind of threw me a little bit too. But yeah, I haven't seen it either, but I'm with you based on everything I've heard and read. And
the real sad thing about this, that next year for Christmas, Mom and Dad were so excited for my gift.
Our son loves Star Wars. This is going to be a home run, honey.
Yep. And the funny thing about that is since it was rated PG-13 when we went and saw the first one, because I was 9 at the time and my brother he would have been 12. She wanted to go see it with us because she didn't want to leave us waiting in this giant line by ourselves, and she didn't want to see in a PG-13 movie by ourselves without her, and she could have fallen asleep. She enjoyed Star Wars that much. So, you know, they thought they were doing good with that gift, but
yeah, Camo Cam, that's a cool kind of geek out special effect moment. I'll give you that. And just his whole makeup too. I dug that. But, you know, we're talking about drops of rain in a huge, huge bucket here. But there were a momentary cool things.
Yeah, but when Qui-Gon Jinn is fighting him, that fight was over like that. It's like, and then
this is going to be one of those nights where we're all ruined.
All right, moving on.
All right, that means it's my turn again. Yes.
Yes.
That means I'm back up. All right. So if you were fortunate enough to have been born back when I was born, right? So I'm going 84 here. So when this movie comes out, I'm 15, right? So we're going to 1999 here when this next movie drops. When this movie was coming, literally, there was nothing bigger on the planet at the time. They had sold it. They made you believe everything they were putting out about this film. They had everyone buying in. It was, you were in, man. You were in for $1, in for 15 cents. That's that. You're in. That's that. The film I'm talking about that was just absolutely overhyped to the moon is the Blair Witch Project in 1999. When this movie comes out, there's even like Discovery Channel clips and news media runs of how these kids are missing. They printed up missing posters and actually had them outside the movie theaters and stuff with numbers underneath saying, if you can find these kids, if you see these kids, call this number. They're still missing since they tried to go and film this movie, right? So they had everybody, I mean, the whole world is dialed in at this point, waiting to see this movie. All right, so let's Blair Witch again, 1999. This movie actually gets an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. 86. I usually respect Rotten Tomatoes quite a bit. On this one, somebody gave the meter to their high cousin to fill out or something like that. I don't know. Something went wrong here. All right. Where I give them credit is right here. This is where they get a lot of credit. The budget on this film was $60,000. The gross on it, $248,639,099. So you want to talk about a financial success? There might not have been a bigger one in history than this when you go from how much they had to spend making it to how much they actually brought in. And that's just off the film. That's not off of merchandising and everything else, you know? So this was a money machine. I'm going to go ahead and give you the lead actors in this. And anybody here, go ahead and tell me if you know who these guys are. You ready? We're going to go Heather Donahue, Joshua Leonard, and Michael C. Williams. Anybody? Anybody? You know why? Because they're horrible actors and actresses. They're terrible. Okay? They're not good. They don't get many other roles than this in their lives. This is what they did. They did not do anything else either because they probably made a fortune off of doing this. So the premise of the movie is these kids hear about the legend of the Blair Witch, and they decide they're going to go film their own little documentary. Now, I'd have to go actually look, but I think this is one of the films that put found footage kind of on the map. This was one of those films that launched that into a real genre, if you will, right?
Right.
Because that's what this is. The whole thing is filmed from the first person angle of whoever's holding the camera or whoever's camera you're looking through in that moment. And they're going to go out and they're going to do research, and they've got this whole map that leads nowhere. That's the biggest joke in history, right? They had a map that led them nowhere. And it's going to take them out. They're going to follow it. They're going to find these clues, couple days. They're going to come back. So they get out into the woods. They're talking to locals and stuff like that on their way there. And the locals are telling them that this is not a joke, right? That this is something that's real and that those woods are creepy and you should just stay out of them. But of course they go. And they go into the woods. And what's supposed to be, I think it's a 3-day trip, like 2 days in and then a day back out real quick or whatever it's supposed to be. They're lost now. Now they can't find their way back. And one of the guys throws the compass away for some reason because he says the compass wasn't doing them any good or something like that. Or maybe it was the map. It might have been the map that he threw. It was the map. Because he said the map was garbage and it wasn't helping them anyways because they were lost for days.
The river.
Yep. And just everything's going wrong. And while this should have been an opportunity for an amazing film, right? It was a film where everything just kept building. You kept feeling like something was coming. You're waiting for something to happen. I went to see this with my mom, my stepmom, and her aunt, her sisters, and all them. My aunt is digging her nails into my hand, holding my hand because she's so scared, she said. And I'm sitting there going, is something going to happen? Nothing has happened. Like we're just walking through the woods. Yeah, okay, cool. There's some noises. All right, great. Yeah, oh, look, somebody put a weird stick figure outside your tent. That's creeping you out? Come on, man. I grew up in the era of the slasher films. People got their heads cut off and it didn't faze us. You got to do better than this. This is what you're giving me? All right. I mean, I walked out of I couldn't stop laughing. We walked out of the movie and people were actually screaming, Josh, like it. But everybody was so bought into this. And I'm going, I don't understand it. Nothing ever happened. The most thrilling sequence of the movie is the last 5 minutes where they're running around, and then they give us the worst ending possibly in horror movie history. That's my reward here for months of buildup, hours of this film, sitting here waiting for something to happen, and what I get is a kid in a corner. And that's it. That's the payoff. That's the big, there's your moment. That's it. Now, again, I give them credit, man. They spent 60 G's and they made enough money to last the rest of their lives. But did you really have to ruin my night to make it happen? Did you really have to ruin months of build? Like, did it really need all this? I was so sold on this film that I was sitting there. And this is back when like you had AOL and stuff, right? So there's not like real like touch. I took some time to do this research on the Blair Witch here.
Yeah.
And I had real research that I had printed out and brought with me to the movie and everything else. I was in. And they lied. They lied. They destroyed everything. It was a horrible film. And they couldn't even find an attractive lead lady. She wasn't even that good looking to watch. So it was bad. All bad all around.
I liked it until the last 5 minutes, Joe. There's something about that creepy aspect, the found footage, the new idea of this, quasi documentary. Is it real? Is it not real? But I'm with you in that it was one of those moments like, really, that's my pain. It's one thing to go, damn, that movie ended in a weird way for me. And it compels you to think or compels you to watch again, i.e. No Country for Old Men. A lot of people get upset with that film because of how it ends. And I tell them, oh, don't worry, it ends correctly. Go back and watch it a second time. Versus Blair Witch, where you're building for an hour and a half, hour 40, and that's what you get. So I'm with you 100%. But up until that point, I was pretty on board.
I don't know what it was for me. I don't know if it was the way they sold it and everything else that I really went into this thinking. And maybe also what hurt was the night before we went to see the film was when the hoax got revealed. Was when you found out that it came out like right before we went to see it that it wasn't real and it was all a hoax. Yeah. So now I'm no longer walking into this really like, oh man, this is some crazy thing where they found this kid's footage. Now I'm going into this like, okay, well, it's just a movie. So to me, every time something didn't happen, I'm going, well, they just wanted to cut back on the spending there, right? They didn't have the money there. Like, it was just driving me nuts, dude, the whole way. And I probably could have forgiven a lot of it if they didn't hit me with that ending. I probably could have forgiven a lot of it, but that ending was like, no, this can't be forgiven. I'm sorry. This is bad. Yeah. And I'm not okay with it. And I mean, everybody else I know that I talked to was like, you didn't like the Blair Witch? You're crazy. Well, I guess I am then. That's fine. I'll be crazy because that was terrible. Terrible.
For me, I remember waiting in line with a few friends to go see it, and I had heard mixed, I had heard the ending sucked. So I went in with pretty low expectations. I didn't buy into the hype about it being found footage. I thought it was very clever. Their marketing was very clever and unique, especially on such a shoestring budget to make a movie, in the late 90s. And I think in some aspects it was kind of groundbreaking. They kind of invented that harness to shoot, right up in their grill when they were running around the forest and everything. That camera angle was kind of a new thing, the whole POV and, using the video camera footage. And, I thought that was pretty clever. But yeah, the last 5 minutes was just, so I went in with super low expectations. So, I would have given it, until the last 5 minutes, I would have given it like a 6 out of 10. But then because of the last 5 minutes, how they ever got money to make a sequel, I have no idea.
And the bad part is the sequel was worse than the original. So what does that tell you?
It almost looked like, and I don't think this was their plan because, they were operating on less than the shoestring budget, but it was almost built to me structurally for a sequel. Like what happened in those last 5 minutes? Oh, now the second movie will answer all the questions we have. No.
Nope. The second movie answered nothing, did nothing, and it was a god awful.
To even see it, Joe.
I tried to watch it just to give them a chance to redeem themselves. I'm like, maybe here. I was like you, Joe. I'm like, all right, maybe this was all set up for that second film. Maybe it's all laid out for that second film. And I watched the second film and I went, oh, no, it's got nothing to do with the first one. Wow. Huh. Oh, look, it's just as bad. All right, cool. Great. Thanks, guys. Thanks. There's 3 hours of my life now I'll never get back. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. So, Blair Witch is a hard miss for me. And every adaptation of it so far, 1, 2, 3 have all been bad.
I didn't even know they made a third. So,
yep.
Yes, they did.
All bad, by the way. Eric, if you didn't know that, they're all bad. It's your turn, Joe.
All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw this up on the screen, and hopefully you all remember this movie. That's Jack Nicholson. That's Leo DiCaprio. It's also got a really killer performance from Mark Wahlberg and Matt Damon, and directed by Martin Scorsese, and was a kick-ass killer film called The Departed. And Jack Nicholson, who's kind of in the background, he's not a major player in the film, but he plays this legendary, really interesting story of an East Coast gangster by the name of Whitey Bulger, who was in charge of the Irish sections of Boston, Massachusetts, and also was an informant for the FBI. So, and I knew a bit about Bulger, and then I learned more. Well, fast forward about 10 years later, and now there is going to be, in essence, a biopic on Bulger, played by one of my absolute favorite actors, and I am going nuts. So my wife and I rarely get out to go to the films, and we have completely different tastes. So we went out to the theater, and she was like, honey, you pick it. And the whole reason we were going out to the theater is I was crossing my fingers that I got to pick it. And she said, honey, you pick it. And I was like, right on. Because I know this film wasn't up her alley, but she does like some crime stuff. So I'm like, all right, honey, we are going to go see this film right here. All right. Black Mass with Johnny Depp as Whitey Bulger. What a piece of shit this film was. I was so into this. The whole idea. And I'm not laying this at Johnny Depp's feet. Johnny Depp had a killer performance. Great acting. And he was doing a lot of the Jack Sparrow stuff. So this is the first time after a few years that he had taken on a big, meaty role. But it was just a horrible screenplay. It was horribly paced. The plot was, I don't know. It was bad. You know, sometimes you go to a movie and you're X minutes in and you're like, fuck, right? You just like, it could be 20 minutes, 30 minutes where you're like, fuck, this is not going to end how I thought it was before I purchased the ticket. And then sometimes you go in a movie and for whatever reason, director, actor, whatever, maybe you double that time because you're like, God damn it, they're going to be able to turn this thing around. That's how I was, because I so loved Johnny Depp and he was doing so well. But at about an hour to an hour 10 in, I just wanted to scream, fuck me, to the theater. Because not only had it severely disappointed me, but I had dragged my wife to this rarity of an outing. And I had essentially just spent any cred I had built up and cred for future movies by making her sit through this thing as well. Because she's not a Johnny Depp connoisseur like I am. And she doesn't have the fascination with Whitey Bulger and true crime figures like I do. So she is now sitting through an absolute shit movie that is compounded by the fact that she has no interest in it whatsoever. So we leave the theater, and she just gives me this look like, you aren't picking another film for a while, motherfucker. And what can I do? I just toss my hands up like, you're right. I'm not. And that's probably one of the biggest reasons I can't. This film is so disappointing. They had a guy. You know, there have been some great biopics out there. I always go to Malcolm X as a biopic, just fantastic. And I always try and catch the good ones. And I'm like, Johnny Depp, an interesting story. This Whitey Bulger, part hoodlum, part informant. How does that happen? And they totally shit the bed with it. And it totally sucked. And I'm like, I'm hearkening back to The Departed because at least Scorsese made him interesting and surrounded the movie with these other actors and characters, but he's more a bit role. With him as front and center with Johnny Depp, I thought this movie was going to win Oscars and crush, and holy cow, did it let me down. It might not have made my biggest disappointment list, however, if it hadn't been for the whole wife going to the movie thing. That was the killer for me. So Black Mass is my other most disappointing, most overrated, whatever it may be.
So I would have to agree with you in the sense that, first of all, Johnny Depp delivered an amazing performance, right? And because of that, I have sat through this film more than once because his performance in it is so amazing. I'm like, how can they take that performance and put it in such a bad movie, though? I mean, even the guys, dude, Kevin Bacon's friggin' accent, what was that? What was that supposed to be? Was he supposed to be from Boston?
And ironically, he's doing a Showtime series right now where he plays a guy from Boston.
That one wasn't a good. I mean, maybe he's got a better one now, but in that one, it wasn't very good. I don't know what the hell that was. Okay.
And I like me some Kevin Bacon, Joe. Yeah. I like Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, I agree. Even what's his name that played the FBI guy? That basically Whitey was using. I can't remember the name of the guy who played him.
Blotted from my memory.
He was so bad, though. Like, you're supposed to be the other major role in this film. You're the bad guy behind the scenes, basically. You know? Like, and it was so bad. There were so many bad performances in this.
Yeah.
That I'm sitting here going, man, you just wasted maybe one of Johnny Depp's greatest performances on just this god-awful shit show. So it was a huge disappointment for me. I was really looking forward to seeing it, so much so that, as a matter of fact, it's sitting right down there. I bought it.
Oh, you bought it?
Yep, it's right. I don't know where it is right now, but it's around here somewhere. Because I bought it when, yep, there it is. I got it. There you go. I bought it. I didn't get to see it in the theaters. So as soon as it came out on Blu-ray, I went and grabbed it. I was dying to get my hands on it. Can't get that money back now either.
Yeah, no shit. If we have time to field that, Disney, we will. That's a great question. If not, I'll make sure we do it next episode.
For me, Black Mass, I had heard enough things from people that I trust their opinions when it comes to movies. And I'm not talking about, critics, friends. Mm-hmm. I've got some good friends that are really big film buffs like myself, and some have similar tastes. So, I take their advice, and, they had posted on Facebook they were going to go see Black Mass. And then only thing I saw, because normally after he would give not a synopsis or anything, but just, kind of a thumbs up or thumbs down on it. And all he said was wait for DVD. So I waited for DVD, and yeah, I'll agree. Johnny Depp, man, I've been following his career since 21 Jump Street, man.
Right.
He's versatile. He's, one of my favorite roles of his was Dead Man in the Jim Jarmusch movie.
Yeah.
But definitely not a box office hit. But Black Mass had so much potential because Whitey Bulger, I've seen probably 3 or 4 different, biographies, documentaries on him. Such an interesting character, and you have somebody of Johnny's ability to portray it so well.
Mm-hmm.
And then just, I don't know if it was casting was part of it, script was part of it, directing was, a lot of potential. And, Kevin Bacon, when it comes to playing Boston people, I actually liked him in Mystic River.
Yeah. Good call. Good. Yeah. He
he similar role.
Yeah.
But and I always have a special place in my heart for Kevin Bacon, because when Footloose came out, I was dating a girl that happened to be born without thumbs. Interesting fact. More interesting, during Footloose, she gave me a little handy J, and it was the most interesting handy J I've ever had in my life. So thank you, Kevin Bacon.
Oh, that's a great anecdote. Last thing I'm going to say before I throw it to Eric, if you are a Johnny Depp fanatic like I am, go see it knowing that all you're watching it for is a performance. And just as a little nugget, because this is a slept-on early Johnny Depp film, and actually the whole trilogy should be watched. It's the Robert Rodriguez trilogy. This one is Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
Yeah.
And that Depp is great in that. If you're a Depp fan, or just, it's a great trilogy. Antonio Banderas and Salma Hayek were in one. I forget the name of that one, but there's 3 of them. Depp is in one of them, and he's very good in that.
So you had Desperado, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, and I can't remember the third one either, but
yeah, there's a third one.
Look at the screen. I think. Look at the screen, Joe.
Yeah, I see it, but I see 2 of them.
Well, actually, you had Dusk Till Dawn was unofficially part of that trilogy.
Okay.
That's what it was.
That's maybe what I'm thinking of. Okay.
Yeah, because what people actually call the real trilogy was El Mariachi, which was, Robert Rodriguez. Everything was in Spanish.
Yes.
And then basically remade it with bigger stars as Desperado.
Right.
And then Once Upon a Time in Mexico is the succession of that movie, or the successor to that movie. But yeah.
But to Joe's point, great Johnny Depp performance in that film.
Yeah. All right. For mine, mine's kind of a twofer. Same subject, 2 different versions. You got the Hulk and the Incredible Hulk. Now, first, the 2003 version with Eric Bana, Jennifer Connelly, and Sam Elliott. Amazing actors and actress. I've had a thing for Jennifer Connelly ever since she was in Career Opportunities. Right. And Ang Lee, directed Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or whatever it was called. Eric Bana, man, such a good actor. Sam Elliott, amazing actor, has one of the most unique voices in the business. You know, so much potential. Oh, can't forget Labyrinth either for Jennifer Connelly, one of my all-time favorite fantasy movies. But in 2003, they made the movie for $120 million, and it grossed $245.4 million. So it barely doubled what they invested. Now, I'll go back and forth on, you know, good points and bad points of both, but the CGI was so horrible, in my opinion. I went and saw this in the theaters because I collected Hulk comics when I was a kid. My main one was X-Men, and Hulk was one of them that I really liked. I loved the TV show, you know, with Lou Ferrigno, and, you know, so I was really fired up to go see this in the theaters. And I was actually on vacation in Vegas, and I took time away from all the fun stuff in Vegas to go see a shitty movie. So pretty disappointed. And then Iron Man comes out on March 2nd of 2008. Iron Man, the creation of Marvel Studios, the creation of the MCU, Marvel Comic Universe. Iron Man. Oh, awesome. Loved it. And then it's like, okay, Incredible Hulk's coming out on June 13th. Ed Norton, one of my favorite actors. You know, Tim Roth. Oh, love the guy. I discovered he became one of my favorites in Reservoir Dogs. Loved him ever since. I haven't seen a role of his that I didn't enjoy. And, you know, sad to say, Hulk is kind of a cursed movie for Marvel, whether it be for, you know, MCU or whatever, because this one, they spent $30 million more, $150 million making it, and they didn't even double their money. They made $264 million. It's the lowest grossing movie in the MCU.
That the studio made? Because I'm wondering about that first Fantastic Four. Because that
Fantastic Four was not Marvel Studios.
Right, that's Fox.
So it's a Sony property, or the
Sony or Fox.
Yeah, and
that says a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, when it comes to Fantastic Four, you know, Jessica Alba.
Oh, good God!
But you know, then Johnny Blaze somehow becomes Captain America.
Yeah.
I never understood that, but
excuse me, sir, you leave Cap alone. All right, you leave Cap alone.
Johnny Blaze. But you know, both of those so disappointing for so many reasons for me. Like I say, you know, Marvel Studios, they put everything they had. I mean, he put Marvel on the line when it came to producing Iron Man and Hulk. If both of those would have performed the way Hulk did, we wouldn't have the Avengers. We wouldn't have Infinity War. We wouldn't have Black Panther, you know, and
the whole line of TV shows coming up on Disney, which they've started this stuff with Wanda and Vision. Yep.
So luckily for Marvel, they decided to release Iron Man first.
Yeah.
Because had they released Hulk first, you know, 4 months before Iron Man might not have done what it did. And Marvel would be owned by somebody besides Stan Lee's, whoever he left it, you know, his shares to. But yeah, just very disappointing. And I saw both of those in the theater. So, you know, I wasted whatever money and I spent on popcorn and everything.
Popcorn and drink. I've been lucky. I dodged those two purely because I saw FF, and I remember the FF they wanted to release in 1980. You know, the one that they never did release because it was so horrible, and I just knew that, like, I just could feel that they couldn't do a good Hulk. As great as CGI was at that time, they couldn't do a great Hulk. You know, and as much as I love Eric Bana and like you, Edward Norton, I said they were both wait for DVD, and I just never got the impetus to even rent them.
Yeah, that's right. Johnny Blaze is Ghost Rider. Sorry.
Yeah, Johnny Storm. Johnny Storm.
Yeah, I was like everybody else when they started making the comics and the movies and all that good stuff, and the Hulks were coming out and everything. I was quite excited. I think the problem that the studios have always run into with the Hulk is that they never build a storyline with it. They always want to rush right into Hulk smash and destroy everything and have the army chase him. For a movie and a half, we watched him run from the army, basically. Until finally they tried to bring a bad guy along for him to fight, you know? They just always kept making these same mistakes, and luckily, finally, they seemed to get it right, but it just wasn't in his own film. You know, it was in the Marvel Universe amongst the Avengers and everything else. Will they ever get a Hulk film right? My hope is one day they'll give us a Planet Hulk and they'll get it right with that one. But I don't think so, because you already had Thor Ragnarok, and that was basically Planet
Hulk. Right.
That was basically Planet Hulk. You know what I mean? That was a combination of 2 or 3 comic arcs brought together, basically.
Which I also, and we discussed this with Superman, Batman. What really bothers me about comic movies that don't make it because they're shit stories is that, hey, Hollywood, go to the fucking source. You got a guy called Peter David who took the Green Hulk and made him the Gray Hulk with an intellect and turned into a bouncer at a casino. It was one of the greatest runs of Hulk in the Hulk comic there was. Go to the guys that write the freaking comics. They don't have to write the screenplay, but they sure as hell can consult or co-write it. There's no excuse. There is no excuse for any comic book movie not to be wonderful. You know, because and a lot of them do take from great story arcs, but Hulk is one of those characters that maybe you need more direct input on. I don't know.
Well, luckily, I mean, I can see why Ed Norton didn't want to reprise the role. You know, the movie did so shitty. It was probably one of his worst performing movies ever. And
I also heard that Marvel didn't love working with Edward Norton either. Like, I heard that there was a little back and forth there.
Hard to say. I have no idea. I hadn't heard that. But I've been an Ed Norton fan since I saw him in Primal Fear. I love that freaking movie.
Yeah.
But Mark Ruffalo took on the role, and I thought he did fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think Hulk is one of those characters that just seems to be that works great in an ensemble.
Yeah.
But they can't seem to get the script right to make him carry a movie.
Right.
So here's my thoughts real quick on something else that we were just talking about, Thor Ragnarok. To me, even though it was a Thor titled movie, it felt like a dual movie. This is a Thor Hulk movie. The movie was based around those 2 characters.
Right.
And I think moving forward with the Hulk, that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to put somebody else on the screen that can carry the bulk of the time while you reserve the Hulk for big sequences and big fight scenes and everything else to just kind of help ease things through. Because if you got the green guy on screen for most of the movie and he can't talk, it becomes a bit boring, you know? So
what I think you need to do, Joe, is since Ruffalo has nailed it as Banner, is you need a lot of Ruffalo.
Yeah.
You need to have something where they get split apart, or, you know, Banner's in it just as much as the Hulk. You just need Ruffalo doing his thing too. You know, even though he's not the money shot, he's going to be carrying all the heavy lifting behind the scenes kind of thing, right? He's going to be the one that makes it work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and great. It's not really a crossover movie, but a great movie with Robert Downey Jr. and Mark Ruffalo. I just watched again the other night. I really enjoy it. Zodiac.
Oh my God, I love that movie. Well, another serial killer. I mean, I love true crime, dude. I love that movie.
All right, number 3, Joe.
This is our last film of the night, gentlemen. Is that correct? Everybody's done?
Yep.
All right. So this one is more of a personal one for me, okay? Listen, I don't think any critic is going to say this is great either, but here's my issue. Okay, my film right now is the 1998 Godzilla film, and I'm going to tell you why. There isn't a bigger Godzilla fan walking this earth than me. It doesn't exist. I love the big green guy. Me and my grandfather watched every Japanese version of Godzilla you could find. Okay, I have watched more people put on that big green costume than you can imagine. All right. So when I heard that they were taking Godzilla mainstream, he was going to get a major movie release here. You know, he was going to go big box office and they were going to do it with all the CGI and everything over the top. I mean, Puff Daddy made a friggin' music video and it was a rock video. Like, we were going all over the place here. And that's what I get. That thing. The thing that looks like an iguana had sex with one of the aliens from the Alien franchise. That's my Godzilla. That's not Godzilla. Okay? That's horrible. I don't know what that is, but it was not Godzilla. As soon as they debuted that, I mean, I was so excited. And then I saw the first commercial and they showed him. And I went, they should have hit him all the way to the movie release because every Godzilla fan under the sun is going to be pissed off. And for the most part, we were. We all were. Okay? Not to mention, they put Matthew Broderick in the lead of this film. Matthew Broderick is a fine actor, whatever. But do you really think he should be the one carrying a Godzilla film? Do you see him as an action star in any way, shape, or form here? You know, like, horrible. Absolutely horrible. I mean, he looks like a freaking iguana. That's Godzilla.
Yeah.
That's the most recent Godzilla. And I love the new films. They have nailed it. Okay. King of Monsters they did too much human involvement in that one. They should have just let the monsters go duke it out. All right. But fine, whatever. Still, they nailed the way Godzilla looks. He's big. He's mean. He's intimidating. The other Godzilla, when I saw him, I wanted to put him in a friggin' terrarium and feed him lettuce. You know, like it was just god awful. And the whole premise of the film, like, you know, Godzilla comes to New York, but they made him look so small. Like he was getting dwarfed by the skyscrapers and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like they took this legendary monster who was towering above things and turned him into an oversized iguana who was hiding behind the Empire State Building. Like, what are we doing here? What is going on? You know? All right, so it made money, $130 million budget. It grossed $379 million. But what it did was, in my opinion, it set Godzilla back about 20 years, and we had to wait till 2014 until we got another Godzilla film. Meanwhile, over in Japan, they just kept shooting out Godzilla films left, right, and center and making money off of every one of them bad boys. Mm-hmm. They're like, we don't know why you guys can't get it right. We get it right every damn summer. We don't know what you guys are doing over there. You know? But everything about this was just, God, it was so bad. It was such a huge disappointment for me personally because I was so looking forward to this Godzilla film. I was super excited. Again, I've watched Godzilla Destroys All Monsters, Godzilla versus Megawire, Godzilla versus everything you can think of. All right, I've watched the big green guy fight everything. But I just couldn't watch him with the Puff Daddy rock video behind him looking like an iguana and be okay with it. I'm sorry it didn't work for me.
Two things on that, Joe, because I'm about 3/4 of the way through King of All Monsters, and I am digging the shit out of it. And okay. I'm going to tell you why. Because, by the way, HBO Max, if there are any other Godzilla fans right now, they have like a dozen at least of the old Japanese Toho Godzillas. It's funny you said there was too much human interaction, because as I'm going through those old Godzillas, I'm constantly rolling forward because there's not very much monster. There really isn't when you go back and look at it. I'm like, so I really got excited for basically 8 minutes of film on an hour and 30-minute movie because it's a lot of human stuff. Yeah. The thing I liked about it in Destroys All Monsters is the lead actor, I forget his name, but he was in a series that Netflix had called Bloodlines, and it was really good. I like him. But goddamn, the way they did Mothra, the way they did Rodan and made it like a part Phoenix, the way they did Ghidorah, oh my God, I just dug seeing those guys modernized. Godzilla looks better in that flick than he does on screen right now, but they still, for me, haven't quite nailed him, you know, but he does look better than this monstrosity that we've got on the screen.
Oh my God, listen, what they had in that 1998 film was just, I don't know what that was. And Joe, you sound like you're a Godzilla fan just like me.
Yeah.
Like you were excited just like me when they said there was a major release coming. And my grandfather's still around for me at this time. So we're excited together, because I grew up watching these with him. This is one of the rare films that me and my grandfather actually went to the movies to go see. Right. Because I was still sitting there going, all right, he looks horrible, but maybe that's the worst part here, right? Maybe they just didn't do very well with the way you look. Nope, that wasn't the worst part. The worst.
You were in that zone, Joe, of half an hour in. You're like, God damn it! You decided to give it a little extra. Yep.
I kept going along. I'm like, God damn it! This is so bad, but they're gonna save it, right? They're gonna get this right at some point. Nope, all the way through to making Godzilla some weird female, and like it was just all kinds of nightmarish scenarios. It culminated with horrible acting on the screen by Matthew Broderick and Gene Mark and many others that were just not good in this film that are normally very good in other ones. This just wasn't the area for them. And, when the best thing you can say about a Godzilla film is, man, what's his name? Hank Azaria or Arazia?
Hank Azaria, yep.
Hank Azaria plays a pretty good cameraman. That's bad. That's the best thing I got to say about that Godzilla film. That was it.
Well, I think like with the Hulk, Joe, the CGI wasn't good enough on that first release to do it. They would have been better trying to do something practical like the Japanese did with models. Yeah. Maybe not a dude in a rubber suit, but something a little bit. But the CGI didn't quite cut it. And how in the hell they could have constructed that thing and not seeing how disproportionate his dumbass head was in comparison to the rest of his body. How that escaped editors and the animators that were working on it and the fucking director and people in Japan. People had to be saying something, but,
I think the people in Japan, you know what they were saying? Oh, wait, America's going to pay us this fortune and they're going to make that? So then we get to still make our own movies, make money, and get them to pay us, and they're not even going to make a real Godzilla film. Works for me. Go ahead, pay us, guys. Come on. What amazes me, though, seriously, Joe, if you take that Godzilla and you put him next to an alien from the Alien movies, they are eerily similar looking.
Okay.
It looks like perhaps somebody who worked on the Alien set said, this is what we should do. We'll just give him a more lizard-looking physique.
Yeah.
But this is what we're going to do. We're going to copy this and just make him a little bit bigger and make him look more like a lizard. See, and that was their whole idea.
That was my problem. The way his head looks, it looks like he should be on all fours, not on all twos.
Yeah.
The way they had designed his head, he should have been like this, and everything would have been fine. But Godzilla doesn't operate like this,
No.
So, yeah.
No. And then, I mean, again, while there's nothing wrong with the whole Godzilla comes to the city and destroys it and all that, that's what the original Godzillas were, right? He came and destroyed your city. At the same time, if you're going to do a film like this and go all out and bring Godzilla to the main audience, you got to do it like 2014 did when they relaunched him. You got to give him a bad guy, somebody to square off against.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to let them fight it out on screen and give the fans what they want.
Yeah.
We didn't want to see Godzilla hiding from the friggin' government. This isn't a Hulk movie. Come on now.
And besides, the Japanese classics have already established there is no mundane weaponry that can hurt Godzilla, right?
Thank you.
What is the army going to do? Yes, you could concoct some weird weapon like the oxygen sucker thing that they did in Destroys All Monsters. Okay, fine. But the only thing that hurts Godzilla are peers of Godzilla, and you need them. And I agree with you. Why waste all the time, effort, energy, the weight? We've had a couple of these movies, like with the Hulk, with the Star Wars, where you have fans and they've been waiting all this time, and then like a flash.
Listen, how big of a fan am I? One of my biggest dreams is to go to Japan and go to the Godzilla theme park.
Oh, yeah.
They have a full theme park over there with the museum,
a
friggin' zip line thing, a shooter game, everything. Dude, I want to go. I don't care if somebody gets me there for one day, and my only thing is I'm going to go see that real quick, and then I'm coming home. That's fine with me. I'll put up with it.
Yeah.
I would love to do it, and again, I'm a huge fan of the whole thing. I've loved Godzilla my whole life. I can't wait for Kong and Godzilla. Yeah. It looks amazing right now. It really does.
It really does.
So they finally gotten it right down the road here. But what a horrible stumble 1998 was, man. That was bad.
Yep.
Really bad.
All right.
For me,
go ahead, Eric.
For me, and Camo, I agree. The kaiju movies are hit and miss. Pacific Rim, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Thought that was very clever.
Pacific Rim 2, not so
thing.
good.
Yep. But a couple problems for me with Godzilla wasn't Matthew Broderick. And, Hank Azaria, I love the guy. Love him. I mean, Simpsons wouldn't be the same without Hank Azaria, in my opinion.
Right.
But it was the worst chase movie, in my opinion, that I've ever seen. It wasn't a Godzilla movie. It was a chase movie. I'll watch Run Lola Run 150 times in a row before I ever watch that again. But the worst thing about Godzilla, when that came out, I was a sushi chef. And at the time, we were a really hip sushi bar. We had one of those giant walls of TVs. This was before flat screens and everything. And they were all wired together to where it would show one big image. Well, what we would do is we would show like Seven Samurai and things like that. And then the general manager freaking loved Godzilla. So guess what got played on a loop at least
Lucky
3
you.
times a week? Is fucking Godzilla. Luckily, they were playing music and not but
was your back at least to it, Eric? You didn't
no,
okay.
So
right.
Anytime I looked up, I see freaking Godzilla getting chased.
Well, luckily they finally got it right for us down the road. That was our last film this week, guys. Joe, thanks for hosting it on your channel, my friend.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
As always. Eric, thanks for joining us. Now, when are we back?
We would be back. What's the 6th? We'd be back the 20th.
Okay, and I want to put this to the crowd because it's my pick next time. So I've got 3 different ones that I'm thinking about doing. And I want to see from the crowd what they think might be the most interesting. And these are all 3 of my top genres. Psychological thrillers,
Ooh.
heist movies,
Ooh.
or fantasy movies.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to do all 3 of them eventually.
Well, hopefully the crowd will give us some feedback on it. Guys,
Yeah.
either leave some comments in here, or if not, if you're on IG, send them to Eric directly. Tell him what you want to see, and he'll let us know. You know what I mean? But gentlemen, I actually have to go ahead and get off of here because the brother's coming home from wrestling. He had a big tryout tonight. He wants us all to go downstairs and talk to him.
All righty. Take care, Joe.
So you guys be good.
All right. Take care.
Have a good night, Joe.
Have a good night. We're almost done here, guys. I wanted to say to Disney Beardsman, and I'll get this to Joe. Disney Beardsman had a question that I think we should address. Maybe we can use it kind of as an aperitif next week, Eric, before we get into the real stuff. And that was, what is our favorite ending to a movie ever? And so I think that's a good one to get us started. And whatever you guys think would be good. I like the idea of letting the guys in the chat choose, keep them interested. We love all this stuff. Jeff, it was heist, fantasy, or psychological thriller. Disney, I'm going to tell you why you don't, because I really need to think about it. I don't want to just throw one off the top of my head. I really want to think about that one.
I'm kind of the same way. I would almost have to pick favorite ending by genre.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. I can't say this much. I can give you this. My favorite ending to a TV series, what I think is perhaps the most perfect 2 to 3 minutes of television ever, was the ending to 6 Feet Under, an HBO series from back in the day. You would have to watch 4 or 5 seasons of it for that ending to have impact. But I cried. I was thunderstruck. I watched it again. I watch it every once in a while, and I'll still get tears in my eyes every once in a while watching it. That to me was perfect television. So I can give you that one, Disney.
My favorite ending for a television series, Sopranos. No, I'm kidding. Joke. And I don't remember if it was the Newhart show or the Bob Newhart show.
Okay.
But he goes to bed, and then they cut to the wife, him in bed, saying, "I just had the weirdest dream," and you're expecting the wife from the current show to be there, but it was the wife from his previous show.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I thought that was just clever as all get out.
That is awesome. And then cut, go to black. All right, guys. So it looks like based on what's in the chat, Eric, it'll be Heist unless you get some more coming your way.
Heist it is.
And like Eric said, he plans on doing psychological thriller and fantasy as well. So this is like, for all of us, it's like a 6-week cycle. So by the time we're hitting spring, later spring, you'll have had all of those selections from Eric. Eric, anything else before I shut us down?
I'm going to be starting a live stream on alternating weekends at first, where I'm going to be focusing on reducing the stigma around recovery. Right. And that's recovery from substance abuse, alcohol, mental health, trauma, eating disorders, just working on reducing stigma. And I'm going to have guests, and we'll have kind of topics. And I started my channel to have a platform to talk about recovery. And on my birthday a few weeks ago, I was looking really seriously at what I wanted to do with my channel. And so you're still going to see the food tutorials, focusing on seafood, because most people get told they need to eat seafood but don't know how to cook it. So that's just a quick nutshell for what's coming up with my channel.
Awesome. Good to see you going that way. It'll be fun. And as you can see, Eric's already gearing up. He's got that lovely green screen brick wall behind him. It looks good as all get out. For the film guys out there, I'm still doing True Detective. 8 episodes at six a pop approximately. That's 48 to 50 parts plus a few special parts where I take an aspect of something and really blow it up, like the credit sequence or some other things that I'll be doing. But I've also started doing my research and preliminary recording for both Seven and The Shining. So I'll be doing film bits on those probably in the early spring. When we get to True Detective 7 and 8, I will probably start releasing the early 7 and Shining stuff as well. Shining is going to take a lot because there is an awful lot there. So thanks for all of you guys who showed up tonight. We'll appreciate it very much. We'll be seeing you in 2 weeks with Heist Films. All righty. Take care, everyone. Good night.